Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today we are going to talk with someone who works in a field that is highly visible but very misunderstood. He's one of the most successful and recognizable male models in the world, and he was just named top male model at the 7th Annual Male Model Awards. He is the one and only Philip Fusco. Philip, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Harvey.
One of the reasons why I wanted to feature you on our show is because you're part of an industry with the most glamorous image and you make your work look really easy, but most people have no idea what is involved in doing what you do. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
I would say it's because the end result is a picture, and a lot of people think it doesn't take much to go into a picture, but in reality, it takes hours of, constantly redoing the photo, constantly redoing the poses. You have to do a lot of prep work to get to that area. You have to make sure your body is tight. So a lot goes into it, and a little comes out of it. One picture.
How did you get into the modeling business?
Well, this is a good question. So when I was 17 years old, um, I made a MySpace social media account just like everybody else. And I was on MySpace for about a year. And a company, I guess, discovered me and reached out to me. I was underage, so I had my father go with me to a meeting because the company wanted to meet. It turned out to be legitimate, so I pursued it. I worked with them for about 2 years, and one of the photographers, his name was Bill Terry, he kept pushing me to want to create my own pictures that I owned. So he decided to take pictures that I owned, and I uploaded them to the various modeling websites. And by doing that, I picked up my first agency, which was in New York City, called Empire Model Management. And then from then, I had an agent for about 2 years. I made a lot of contacts. I saved everybody's phone number. I tried to be as humble as possible, and then, things kept progressing and expanding. And now I have a manager and an agency in California, HBM Models, and I'm here today doing everything I can. So it's all because of MySpace that got me started.
You were very young when you started modeling. What did your family think of it?
Uh, at first, my family was a little hesitant, but they picked up really quick, and they thought it was a great thing. It was a really good career. I was meeting a lot of good people. I was very fortunate to meet a lot of good people in the industry. So, they loved it, they supported it, and they still do to this day. They support it very much.
What kind of training do you get to be a model, or is it just a natural skill where you just use your instincts?
I would say it's kind of like a natural thing. I didn't get any training. I know some people they'll take modeling classes, and I think that, will show you how to pose, but over time I kind of just picked everything up and, learned how to do it on my own.
You seem to specialize in modeling underwear and bathing suits. How did it come to be that that was your specialty area?
That's just kind of what I landed into. So when I got with my first agency, Empire Model Management, the agent, he's the smarter guy. He decides kind of how he's going to market you, and he always decided to market me in the underwear, swimwear category, which is quote unquote commercial modeling. So he always, marketed me towards the commercial modeling, and that's where I made my connections. So that's where I continued.
Are you happy doing that, or would you prefer to be doing something else?
No, I love what I do. I love the underwear, I love the swimwear type of modeling versus, runway modeling.
Is there more pressure on you to keep in tip-top shape because you're modeling underwear and swimwear than if you were modeling, let's say, suits and jeans and coats?
Yeah, I do model a lot of coats for this company in New York City. It's called Top Gun Leather. So I would say the pressure is absolutely a lot higher. for underwear modeling and swimwear because you're not wearing much. You're wearing a little bit over, your private areas. So your chest needs to be good, your abs need to be good, your shoulders, everything needs to be defined perfectly. Um, and your face needs to be good on top of that. So it's definitely a lot more pressure.
Can you give us an idea of what your daily routine is like? Like, for example, how many hours a day do you spend at a gym?
I usually go to the gym every day and I spend about 45 minutes to an hour at the gym each time I go.
When you're
Yeah,
at the gym, can you give us an idea of what your routine is?
absolutely. So when I'm at the gym, it's usually 45 minutes to an hour. Um, I'll usually start out, I'll warm up with 5 minutes on the treadmill, but no more than that. I really don't do a lot of cardio. And then I'll pick a body part, biceps, triceps, chest, back, legs, and then I'll do that. I like to stick to free weights versus resistance cable, because that gives you more of a bulking slash cutting look, and that's my personal goals. So that's my gym routine. That takes about 45 minutes. I work really hard on my diet. Diet is a very big thing. The gym is going to get you about 30% of the results that you achieve. The rest is really achieved through a proper diet. So when it comes to, the way I look, I really, watch what I eat. I make sure I eat the correct things. I eat at the correct times, and that's pretty much it.
So, what foods do you avoid?
Oh, I definitely avoid candy bars, high sugar treats, and I stay away from fast food. I don't really, you won't really find me at fast food restaurants quite often.
Is it hard for you to avoid the sweets?
There's definitely times that I do crave like a Snicker bar, but it's kind of like a habitual thing now. I would prefer to just eat carrots and hummus or something healthy over, candy, something full of sugar.
So, at your birthday party, would there be a cake there?
No, yeah, there's a cake. I also am a personal trainer, so I tell my clients, and I follow the same rules. It's good to you need to follow a strict diet to get to your goals, but you can't be so strict that you're stressing yourself out. It's always okay to indulge every once in a while. So there would be cake at my birthday party.
Phil, what factors do you consider in deciding whether or not to accept a modeling gig?
Well, first I look into the photographer, I look into the company, and if it all checks out, I sometimes I send it over to my manager. She'll do a little, um, investigation for me, or she'll talk to the company or photographer on my behalf. If all that checks out, I usually take the gig on.
Are there some that don't check out?
There's definitely some modeling job gigs that I've rejected in the past. That was because the photographer, either I've had a bad experience with them, or they have a very bad reputation. The industry it's big, but it's small. Everybody talks, so it's a hard industry. It's competitive, but it's fun.
What kinds of things would give a photographer a bad reputation?
Um, the kinds of things that would give a photographer a bad reputation would be, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of other people would agree, if the photographer tries to go over the boundaries of being just a photographer, um, something of that nature.
Has that happened to you before?
Um, there have been attempts in the past, but I would have to say that 99% of the photographers out there that I've worked with are fantastic people. They are, they know the boundaries and they don't try anything fishy, and they're great people. So it's very rare that I have to reject gigs. I have in the past, like I said I did, but it's a very rare thing. Most photographers are great to work with, and they know their boundaries.
Have there been times that you did not feel safe on the job?
Never actually.
Oh, that's great to hear. You're very effective at maximizing your personal brand. You really use social media platforms very well to optimize your exposure. Do you manage all of your social media on your own, or do you have a company that does all of that for you?
No, I actually manage all my social media on my own. I manage my Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all from my phone.
How do you find the time?
It just kind of make the time. It's not really very time consuming to upload a picture. Sometimes you have to add like certain hashtags or certain, text to it, but it's a simple process. And I guess like my diet, it's just kind of like a habitual thing now. So
Do you have a lot of fan mail that you have to answer?
I do get a lot of fan mail. Between Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I try to get to as many people as I can, but there's a lot, so it's really hard to get to everybody. But I do get a lot, and I try to answer everyone as best I can.
Do male models have an easier or a harder time than female models in the industry, or is there no difference?
I would say there's no difference. Um, both male and female models are critiqued on their body in the same way. They want your body to be as good as it possibly can be. Um, that's really it. We both have the same amount of difficulties in the field, in my opinion.
A lot of big actors and actresses started out being models. Have you ever considered making that leap into acting?
Um, no, I kind of have been really just comfortable in the modeling. I have been on a couple of TV shows, so I've done some work. I've been on a show called Jerseylicious. I've been on the Maury Show. I did a lot of appearances in a talk show. It was called the Bethany Frankel Talk Show. So I did a couple of things, but I took acting classes for a year and a half, but I never decided to make that full leap into trying to become an actor.
Why not?
I like just the modeling industry.
Well, do models have a best before date? I mean, by that I mean, can you still be a model at the same level you are now, let's say when you're 50?
I would say so. I mean, it's a little harder, it's a little more difficult, but there's a lot of companies out there that like to work with a more matured gentleman for different, advertisements. Um, so I think you're definitely going to be in the prime of your career when you're younger. You can continue it as a job, kind of like a side job as you get older, but you should always have something else going on. Um, it's really hard to make just a full entire career out of just modeling, especially at a more mature age.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, that's hard to say. I'm still going to try to be in the industry doing some jobs, but I also have my college degree, so I'm sure I'll be doing something business-like. So I have my degree in marketing, but I'm also a personal trainer and a life coach. So I do personal training, I do life coaching, and my degree is in marketing. So I hope to get involved in some sort of marketing job within 5 years or in the future.
Would you ever consider starting your own modeling agency?
I've never really thought about that.
It was the
Maybe.
first thing I thought of when you talked about having a plan B.
Oh, really? I
Well,
mean
because
that
you have so much experience, you know exactly how to groom a person to be the best that they can be. You're already a life coach. I would have thought it was a natural step for you.
I never really thought about opening my own agency, but that's definitely a possible thing to think about.
I think a lot of people out there think that successful models are just rolling in money. Is it true that you can become very rich doing what you're doing?
Um, I would say if you make it to the top, just like in acting, or any career in your life, if you make it to the top, you can become very rich. But It's definitely not true that everybody is rolling in money.
Why is that? Does it not pay well?
No, it does pay well, but not rolling in money. I mean, that would be a Kardashian standard. That's rolling in money.
But you make a decent living? You're happy?
Yeah, between my personal training and my modeling and life coaching, I would say I'm very happy with my lifestyle.
Tell me about the life coaching. Who are your clients? Are they men? Are they women? Are they gay? Are they straight? What kind of issues
Uh,
do they come to you with?
so I have a couple of clients. They're all men. They come to me. I wouldn't say with issues. They just there's aspects of their life that they would prefer to talk about with a third party, and have a third party set input. And that's what I provide them with. I'll give them advice, my opinions. A lot of them like to, bundle like dieting and fit life coaching. So, I'll give dieting advice and stuff like that. Pretty much my opinions to try to help someone out. But I definitely wouldn't say they have problems. They just want an extra set of opinions.
Well, the thing about you that I find very admirable is that you have really good self-esteem. You put
Thank
yourself out there, you did it on your own, you are your own boss, really, and you have to have the confidence to display yourself in a very raw way, and you do it very sincerely. Where did you get that from?
I've always been a really humble guy. I pride myself on that. I'm not really a fan of people that are very cocky or conceited, so I try to stay as humble and sincere as possible. Yeah, I believe in morals. I am a religious guy, so I believe that what you put out there in the world is going to come back to you.
I think that that shows in some strange way, even though you're modeling, there is definitely a sense. I don't know if it's because you wear the crucifix quite often in the photos, or just because you have a very wholesome look. But
Thank you.
I'm telling you, Phil, I think it shows that you are a spiritual person.
Thank you. I mean, I try to be as spiritual as I can. I think it's important to be spiritual or have a set of morals or just have a good moral compass. I think that's very important. There's a lot of people in this world that forgot what a good moral compass looks like, and I just think it's a really important thing to have.
When you get together with friends, are they other models? Are they photographers? Are they people in the business?
I do have a lot of friends that are photographers that I've met through the business, that I will, I'll hang out with them. But, a lot of my friends that I hang out with, I grew up with them from when I was younger in high school. So they're the friends that I currently hang out with now.
So these are people that knew you before you became Philip Fusco, the world famous model.
Yeah, these were kids that I went to like middle school with.
So they keep you grounded because they knew you from the beginning.
Yes, they knew me from the beginning. I have a lot of good friends that, I have met in time, not just people that I know from middle school. They also keep me very grounded as well.
So Phil, I'm going to ask you some of the tougher questions. Generally speaking, most people do not want to be considered a sex object, but in your case, being sexy is part of the job. Does it ever interfere with your personal relationships? I mean, do you ever have trouble getting people to take you seriously as something more than just a handsome guy with a great body?
Um, I wouldn't really say it makes it hard for people to take me seriously. I have encountered things in the past where, um, people have viewed me as the Philip Fusco that they see on the screen, just like a sex object. Um, but generally, I think people are very respectful, and they view me as a human. My friends view me as a human, and I've never really come in contact with issues like that.
I think you're very fortunate because I've heard I think there's a misconception out there that because you're good looking, your life is easy, you can date anybody you want. But I've heard that when you're a model, the pressures of the job can actually make it very difficult to have a serious relationship. Is that true?
There are definitely a lot of pressures of the job that I used to experience a lot more when I was more fresh in the industry. Um, it didn't really make it hard for me to establish friendships or relationships or anything of that nature. But it's definitely a little bit of a learning curve, especially if you're getting involved in the industry. Um, there's just a lot that goes on. There's a lot of pressure that's on you. And I think what it comes down to is prioritization. If you can prioritize things correctly, you'll always be fine and you'll always achieve the best that you can achieve. But if you don't know how to prioritize correctly, then things can become a burden and that can create some, extra stress.
So, what are your priorities? You've talked about health, you've talked about keeping yourself in good shape, you've talked about being close with your friends. What about your finances? Do you manage that yourself?
Yeah, so my finances I manage myself. My priorities mainly are this is the order I like to keep them in. I like to keep my faith up top. I have my family, my friends, my finances, and the modeling and all that stuff. That's a high priority too. But my number one priority will always be, faith, family, and friends.
What advice do you have for young people hoping to break into the modeling industry?
My advice for young people is, you can do it. Anyone can do it. Just keep true to yourself. Keep your moral ground high. Um, Try not to fall into any influence from certain photographers if something like that, approaches you. Um, Try not to fall under any bad influence from, let's say a bad agent, because there's always going to be like certain bad people in the industry that tried to take advantage. And it's up to you to really be your own protection and figure out if these people are trying to take advantage of you. So my advice for someone starting in the industry is, know yourself, keep your morals high, and just keep your guard up. Don't let people take advantage of you. And it should all be free flowing if you put your heart and soul into it.
When you talk about making sure that you don't get exploited, that you don't get taken advantage of, it sounds like you rely very heavily on your instincts, your intuition about people, your judgment.
Yeah, I think intuition, judgment is very important. You need to be able to, and I feel like most people do have this ability. I feel like you really just need to be able to read people and read the situation correctly. Um, and decide for yourself, is it good, is it bad, is it safe, is it not safe, should I pursue this and go further, or should I press the pause button and stop?
I have a feeling you have very good instincts, Phil, because when I asked you for an interview and you were not familiar with my show or with me, you agreed because I think you sensed that this was coming from a sincere place.
I did see, yeah, I mean, I sensed it was coming from a sincere place, so I felt very comfortable coming into this.
I'm very glad that you did. Phil, are there risks out there for young models? I've heard of unscrupulous ads that try to lure young people with promises of big money and fame, but they're really into human trafficking. How would a young person avoid that?
Well, like I said, the first thing is be able to know yourself and know what's going on, be a good judge of character. And the number two thing is, this is something that I find a lot of people fall into. If you're involved in proper modeling, nobody's going to ask you for money. If you are doing a job for a photographer or company, they're not going to ask you for money. If they do, then it's not a real job. um, Stay away from stuff like that. There's definitely, I've heard of, and it's all over in the news, but there's human trafficking everywhere, in the modeling industry. I would I would say that mainly comes about if outside of outside of North America. So there's going to be companies out there that will ask you to go to, you know, random parts of Europe or Africa or other countries. Do your research, make sure you know what you're getting into, because there's a good chance it could be good, but there's also a chance that it could be dangerous. So you really need to judge things and protect yourself.
If you had a 17-year-old son or daughter where you were at that age, would you encourage him or her to go into modeling?
If the opportunity presented itself, absolutely. I would, you know, I know what goes on, so I would protect them. I would help them out. But any opportunity that presents itself to anybody, no, in any industry, I would absolutely pursue them to, you know, go for it if they want to go for it.
It's very clear from looking at your photos, your videos, your social media that you really do enjoy your work, but are there times that you don't enjoy it?
Um, no, I would have to say I generally enjoy it all the time. I've never really gone into a job or a photo shoot saying, "Ugh, I wish I didn't have to be here." You know, I love the traveling, I love meeting new people, I love talking to people, so I've never had an issue waking up, going to a job, even if I have to wake up at, you know, 3, 4 in the morning for the job.
Do you get recognized a lot when you're out uh, at restaurants or stores?
Well, because of COVID, you're wearing a big mask. So lately, no, but yes, I've been recognized a whole bunch of times in the gym, in the stores, everywhere, on airplanes.
And it's not a problem?
I think I love it. Whenever somebody recognizes me, you know, I feel very grateful that they know me. You know, I don't think about it like, oh, you know, I'm this guy. I think about it like, you know, I'm grateful. It's 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 a privilege to have this person know who I am.
Well, you have over 1 million followers on Facebook. There are many celebrities, movie stars, politicians who don't have anywhere near 1 million followers. Does that shock you sometimes?
Um, I would say I never really put too much thought into it like that. Um, I do know, you know, I know of famous people or people that are politicians or that have less followers than me. I never really put any thought into it, like why do they have less followers? Why do I have more followers? Not so I never really thought about it much.
But you must be happy to see that you are popular.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a blessing. I love it. You know, I try to thank my fans and followers as much as I can. It's great. You know, a lot of opportunities present themselves because of my social media. One opportunity being this interview that I'm doing right now with you.
Well, I think that it was important to do an interview like this because there are so many misconceptions, which I hope we're clearing up. And I also want people to get a sense of who you are because a photo doesn't tell the whole story.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I really appreciate this interview. It's nice to open up and, you know, tell people about the industry. Tell people that, you know, they should really protect themselves, but not be worried about the industry. And it's just nice to talk about my career and everything.
What do you think is the biggest misconception out there about models?
Ooh, the biggest misconception is something we touched on in the beginning of this, that we have the world's easiest job. I've heard that numerous times growing up. Oh, you just, you know, you have to shoot. Yeah, you come out with pictures. Your job's so easy. When it's a lot of work. Holding a pose for, you know, a period of time or constantly redoing something over and over again, especially in like video. So I've done some commercials too. I've done a commercial, for example, for Greg Ohm, which is an underwear company, swimwear company up in Canada. And we filmed a commercial, and the commercial in total was probably about 3 minutes, but the shooting time was about 13 hours. So you have to constantly redo things to make sure they are perfect.
It's hard to imagine that it takes 13 hours to get 3 minutes of you. What is it that isn't perfect?
Well, for video, you have to redo things so, everything is exactly on point, like your hand movements, your facial movements. For photos, obviously it doesn't take 13 hours. Photos and videos are a little different, but photos, that takes a bit too, because you have to make sure your pose is just right. Like you might be holding a pose and your face looks great, but you might be pushing out your stomach a little bit too much. So you need to make sure everything is in, synchronization.
Are there times that photographers tell you to do something that you don't think is right for you, for how you're gonna look?
Um, I've yeah, I've had situations like that, but most photographers they're super nice. I'm friends with a lot of them, but well, friendly with a lot of them, and they're very open-minded. So if they recommend a pose and I think it's not a great pose. Maybe I'll try it once or twice, and then we'll come to a common agreement that it's not going to work out, or I'll just tell them, let's try something else. But generally, when it comes to posing for myself, they don't really direct me. I don't really get directed. I kind of just, the camera's on, this is the look we're going for, and then I just do it myself. Really no
I
direct.
I notice in your photos, you generally don't smile a lot.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Um, in my opinion, I think a photo, and obviously this is going to be different for everyone, but I think a photo, a male model, underwear or swimwear photo looks best when there's uh, when the model doesn't look angry, but the model's not smiling. I think smiling is it's nice for Polaroid photos or photos with your friends or family. But when you're trying to sell a product, I think that serious vibe definitely is a lot better of a vibe for a photo.
I think it gives you a smoldering look.
That's actually the word I was looking for, but
Oh,
I
is it?
couldn't. Yeah,
But one of the reasons that this interview is so special is because your fans will get to see the smile. They just get to see you being you.
yeah. I did smile a couple of times on this interview.
Phil, I think that by doing this interview, you've gone a long way to clearing up a lot of myths and stereotypes about your line of work. I think it's great that people got a chance to get to know you. I'm really grateful that you took this time to visit with me and my viewers.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a really enjoyable interview. I'm happy you wanted to interview me, and it was great talking about the career in the industry. And I would love to do some more work with you in the future.
Oh, you are welcome anytime.
Well, thank you. I mean, your questions were very unique. Most people ask the same questions, so I can usually roll it off my tongue really quickly. They'll ask me my favorite type of underwear, my favorite color, am I gay, am I straight, all that. Your questions were definitely new, and I enjoyed it. So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Phil. Thank you very much, Phil. Well, you're an awfully nice guy. I wish you every success in your career and your personal life. Thank you so much for being here, Phil.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Our guest has been supermodel Philip Fusco. I'm Harvey Brownstone. Thank you to our producer, Steve Silver. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time.